A few months ago, Speech Debelle was one of the hip-hop community's best-kept secrets. Well, that secret is now well and truly out of the bag when she was given the nod for the prestigious Mercury Music Prize. After a troubled childhood, a wayward Speech turned to rap several years ago as a way to vent her anger and frustration. The result? Her debut album, Speech Therapy, is now one of the frontrunners for Tuesday's Gong. Six Music's Rodrigo Davis went to meet her.
I didn't grow with them, I hardly know them. My fish in my blood, to me that's heartbreaking.
I always had an affinity to words and to music. That's why hip-hop kind of jumped out at me. I found I enjoyed it. I found I was good at it too. And when you're young and you find something that you're good at and impresses people, you say, oh, maybe I could do this forever. That might be cool. I was about 19 and I moved into a hostel. And I started writing the majority of this album, Speech Therapy. When you're young and you have to take those steps out, I don't think it's necessarily easy. I know I had help and I had support, but still it was like, oh, the big wide world really doesn't care about me. Just that alone is not easy. It's coming of age. And, you know, at the time I felt like I felt like writing the songs were therapy for me.
Because it's a very, very personal record, isn't it? Was it hard to put that out there in public?
The only song I had an issue with was Daddy's Little Girl, because I felt like it would hurt a lot of people's feelings.
I am Daddy's little girl.
I suppose it's like a letter, like me writing a letter to my dad to say how much I don't like him and how much I want to embarrass him. You know, it's an issue that is very much kind of swept under the carpet. It's become normality for people to grow up in single-parent homes. And, you know, I got a good friend, Shortman, who was like, if you grow up in a single-parent home, it's a broken home. Doesn't matter how good it is, why you just got one parent, it's broken. And so, you know, I wanted to add extra light to the issue.
And since you got nominated, has life kind of changed for you in any way?
Yeah, it has. I have to think about makeup every day. People are looking. People are paying attention, which means I have to be careful about not what I say, which is something I never considered before. I'm speaking for a lot of people now. I'm the only hip-hop artist on the Mercury, so therefore I'm having to be an example.
See, I've been spending quite some time thinking about life, and I've been checking a couple things I need to get right.
Do you think hip-hop is underrepresented in the Mercury Prize or in mainstream music in general?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of different music is. Just look at the top 10 charts. It's only one type of music, really. There's no variation. But then that's just how it is. It's like, you know, it's a business, and it's very rare you get a big company that says, let's try something new. You know what I mean? McDonald's been making the same burgers for about 100 years. They ain't changing the recipe, you know?
OK, well, that was one of the 12 nominees, but what about the other 11? Well, Rodrigo's been slaving over a hot gramophone for E24 and joins me now to guide me through the runners and riders. Hello, Rodrigo. OK, so of the 12, 5 are solo female artists, aren't they?
That's right. There's a group of 5 of them, actually, the most there's ever been. And among them, you've got Florence the Machine, Bat for Lashes, LaRue, Speech Debelle, of course, who we just heard from, and Lisa Hannigan. And the 2 real hot favourites this year are Bat for Lashes and Florence. And that's mainly because they actually had quite a big profile already going into the competition. Bat for Lashes, of course, was nominated a couple of years ago for her first album. And now she'll be hoping to follow in the footsteps of Elbow, of course, who won second time around last year.
OK, well, those are the female solo artists. Now, the blokes who are up for nominations tend to be in groups.
That's right. There are 4 sort of big groups in the list this year, and they're almost exclusively male. You've got Friendly Fires, The Horrors, Las Vegas and Kasabian. And among those, The Horrors are sort of fancied the most. But I should say that Las Vegas have had a huge amount of hype behind them. Alan McGee, the guy who signed Oasis, reckons they're the best band that Scotland's ever produced.
Now, the Mercury Prize is known for throwing in a few unknowns, a few outsiders in the nominations list. Any of those this year?
Absolutely. There are three very big sort of outsiders, The Invisible, Sweet Billy Pilgrim and Lead Bib. And all of those really were quite unknown, at least in mainstream circles, before the prize. To give you an idea, Sweet Billy Pilgrim made their album in a shed at the bottom of their garden, and Lead Bib came from London's sort of jazz scene, and they are very much the outsiders. But then, of course, the Mercury Prize has a real reputation for springing surprises, so you never know.
Let's just talk a little bit about what happens to some of the acts after they've been nominated or they've won the Mercury Prize, because it sometimes seems as though it's the kiss of death and these acts just disappear.
Well, it is tricky. People do talk about the curse of the Mercury Prize, but I think that's a little bit unfair, actually, because if you look at some of the acts who've sort of failed to recapture that success, and I mean no disrespect, but the likes of Gomez, Miss Dynamite, Ronnie Size, generally came from a position where they were quite new when they won the award. It was a debut album in two of those cases, and it was always going to be difficult for them to cross into the mainstream once they'd had so much pressure and expectation placed on them. Whereas if you look at acts like Arctic Monkeys, for instance, they already had a big fan base when they won the award. Elbow, the same is true. And so having won, it sort of becomes a staging post on their sort of journey to greater fame, which was obviously true in the case of Elbow.
Rodrigo, thank you very much. If you want to know more, you can get it on the BBC's Mercury Prize website. The address is on